So what are we talking about? Oh,
Fans.
yeah. We're talking about fans.
Yeah.
Fans, that's right.
Hey, people.
Hi.
We have such organised starts.
Yeah, always. I'm always clear thinking, organized,
Know what
ready.
we're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm totally good.
Good job, honey.
So yeah, we're going to talk about fans, how to get them, what to do with them once you have them, how to earn them.
Fans make the world go round. We
Yeah.
probably all worry a little bit too much about fans.
Probably.
And also not enough.
Yes, they're very, very important.
So,
So you're sort of in the process of getting fans right now.
yeah, my fan base
And
is slowly climbing.
So how's that going?
It's wonderful. I love it. I feel like I'm in kind of a sweet spot at the moment between, I don't post my stuff into the void anymore. I'll post something and I can kind of rely on somebody engaging with it, which is
Right.
really nice. I put things out there and people are looking at it and I'm like, that makes me feel really good. I also haven't got so wildly popular yet that I can't keep up with people
Right.
who are engaging, which is something I really enjoy.
Yeah.
I fear that one day, as my fan base grows, I'm going to start feeling overwhelmed, or I'm not going to get any work done because I'm stuck to social media. So I'm kind of enjoying this manageable period where I feel like I have a personal relationship with my fans, and I recognise the people I'm talking to, and that feels pretty great. So right now, I like my fan base.
Nice.
You guys are awesome. Things are pretty good.
Yeah.
You obviously have a much larger fan base than mine. It's pretty well established. You've got a little tribe.
Yep.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Your fans are awesome.
Yes, they are. It's been pretty cool to see, because obviously I didn't start with fans, which is obvious, but a lot of people don't think about that. They don't think about the fact that I started with 0 fans. Okay, I probably started with my mother, but
She's a good fan.
Everyone has.
She's our favourite fan.
Yes.
Still is.
She will always like my art. She always thought I needed to do happier paintings, though, which I always thought was funny.
I don't think she's
like,
wrong.
She was like, why can't you paint nice things? There are nice things too. You don't
like,
have to paint dark, scary things.
Are you okay, honey?
Yes, mother. I'm just fine. So yes. But I started with almost nothing. I started with no fans. Nobody knew who I was. I had to start from scratch, just like everybody does. And I think there's a lot of valuable lessons to be learned in the stuff you do then, when kind of nobody's watching you, that can carry on as you get more and more fans. Honestly, the attitude towards having fans doesn't change from 10 fans to 10,000. It's you're doing the same things, and you're trying to do the same things anyway, and you want that same sort of interaction, that same sort of believability, that same sort of truthfulness, really. I think probably one of the most valuable things that I learned early on was just kind of being honest with everybody. This is my honest self. Here's my work. Here's what I'm putting out there. I'm putting out this personality, and just trying to be as honest as possible about it all.
Actually, that's kind of interesting. As a little side note, before we get too deep into things, I got some fessing up to do about how I came across your work when I was just 6 years ago or something. Yeah. You were still pretty young. I think I was just about 20. Maybe. No, I was 19 when I discovered you. A little girl. And when I first came across you, you were young and far too successful for your age.
Yes.
People didn't like that.
No.
I didn't like that. Not because you were successful for your age, but because you crafted an image of arrogance. And I didn't like that. Yeah. And I liked your work, but I wouldn't say I called myself a fan, because I was like, Snow Bradley. I'm not a big fan.
He's so full of himself.
What the hell? It's actually when you dropped that persona a little bit, probably as you became more comfortable with your position in the industry, as you had more of a proven track record of solid work, you didn't have to kind of browbeat people and tell them that you're a good artist, which, as a new person in the industry, people would be skeptical and hesitant. You kind of had to put that out there heavily.
Yes.
You were too good, too young, and people don't generally deal with that well. No. So you had to be very aggressive and assertive in your first years in the industry.
Yes.
I found that when that eased off and you started writing articles about your journey and, about how you, the real reason behind your art and stuff like that completely changed everything I thought about you as an artist. And suddenly I went from being someone who was just like, oh, no, Bradley, to being someone who was an avid fan.
Yeah.
So it's definitely interesting to note that honesty plays a big part.
Yes.
Before we go too off on a tangent, maybe we should discuss what is a fan and what keeps a fan. Why do they keep coming back?
Yeah.
So it can be kind of easy to make fans into numbers these days.
Sure.
Things like Twitter, where someone follows you and it's just a tick on the counter, and it's like, cool, good, next one.
Yes.
It's worth noting that they're human beings.
Most of them.
Sometimes. I mean, there's plenty of bots.
Yeah, except for the bots. The bots are definitely not people.
It's all right, they inflate my numbers. They made me look good.
Exactly.
Thanks, bots.
That's all they're there for.
They make a big difference to me.
Yes.
The bots talk to me.
Aw. Did they talk to you when you didn't have fans?
No.
Oh, even the bots didn't talk to you.
Nobody talked to me.
That's sad.
So yeah, basically, when we are gaining fans, we are kind of recruiting, thinking, breathing people into our weird little bubble that we create, which is actually kind of harder than you might think. When you look at artists online, you see that most have way more followers than people they are following. It is easier for it's difficult to gain a true fan. It's difficult to convince someone that they need you in their life, that they want more updates from you.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be overlooked as a lighthearted thing. When someone is signing up for updates from you, it's actually one hell of a compliment.
Yeah.
It's not your God-given right
to
receive this person's attention.
No.
This is someone who has looked at your stuff and said, I want to give my time and possibly more one day to you, which is pretty great.
Yeah.
Our fans are precious.
Yeah.
They kind of add a whole new level of validity to the work that we're creating.
Yeah.
They support us. They don't have to. Sometimes, these people are kind of giving up their valuable time and valuable money. And that's not something we just deserve by default.
No.
So it can feel like when we're getting started and we're frustrated because we can see that there's all the popular artists find popularity easier to gain, and us uncelebrated new artists, we just don't get the platform to share because no one likes our stuff, no one knows we're there, we're not getting shared. And it's frustrating because it's like, why is that person who's already got like 1 million followers getting retweeted? But, that's just how it is.
Yeah.
You aren't entitled to that person's retweet any more than anybody else.
No.
If someone is sharing something, it's usually not because they have a vendetta against you, it's because something about that work stood out to that person enough for them to decide, I need to share this with people, I need to spend my time consuming this made a difference to me.
Right.
If we're not getting that, it's usually one of two things. Either A, we haven't put the time into it yet, or B, we're not making anything that someone feels they can connect to or enough people can connect to.
Sure.
So, yeah, I will just keep talking, so I'm going to slow down.
I think you like talking.
Oh, really? No, I'm quiet. I don't talk.
Yeah.
I'm a well-known introvert.
That's you. I think there's a few things to pick out there. One is when you look at those popular artists that are out there and they have all these fans and this huge fan base and they get millions of retweets and all that, there is a inherent halo effect to those people, which is why they get more popular. Because once you're popular, it's easier to be popular. The best way to be famous is to be famous, which is, it's really annoying because there's no easy way to get famous. There isn't. Even my small modicum of popularity online was not easy to get. It still took a long time. It took many years and a lot of grinding. But now, if I want to do something else, I'll have a much easier time doing it because I've already done that footwork. And once you do it one time, it's far easier to do it again. When George Bush started painting, his paintings were already immediately popular. They are more famous than any of my paintings will ever be. And I know that. And it's not because he's a good painter. But he's really famous.
Yeah.
So once you're already past that point, you can do whatever you want and still be popular at it. Any rock star in the world can pick up a paintbrush and start an art career.
I seem to remember Britney Spears doing something like that.
Britney Spears paints.
God damn it, Britney Spears.
A number of other ones. Sometimes well.
Yeah, okay.
Sometimes they paint well,
Yeah.
but for the most part, they get greeted with immediate success.
Yeah.
As soon as they produce enough paintings for a solo show, any
Yep.
gallery will host them, sell their paintings for a lot of
Yep.
money, and collectors will buy their paintings.
Yep.
As soon as they start, they don't have to
Yeah.
put in the years and years and decades of work to get that fan base.
It's like celebrities who start their own clothing line.
Right, exactly. They immediately have success. Never, or not necessarily huge success,
Yep.
not necessarily long-lasting success, but they get past the initial hurdles that are sort of put up for people. So that's an important thing to realize when you see somebody who's already popular getting more popular, is that, yes, things do snowball. They snowball significantly. The first 1,000, say, followers on any platform are the hardest ones to get. And the fact that a lot of people can just post about it on a different platform and get those 1,000 follows within like 2 days means that they're going to have an easier time everywhere.
Yep.
So I think that's an important thing to realize is there is a significant snowball effect, and those first fans are really hard to get. I certainly remember that. My first piece that got into Spectrum, which I did while I was still a student, because I'm me.
Oh, honey. And this is why I didn't like you.
This was when I was full of myself.
Oh, sweetie.
Hey, I had reasons.
Oh, you were good.
My
I'll give you
classmates hated me.
that. Yeah, I bet.
I do not blame them at all.
You were very good.
It was pretty good. And that first piece, though, I remember posting it on my Facebook page, and I went back a number of years later and found it, and I realized that it had only gotten 14 likes.
Aww. Your first Spectrum piece.
Yeah, my first
I'm just
Spectrum piece
14.
started to get me my professional career off the ground. It was a very good painting. I still like it to this day. 14 likes.
Yep.
You know, nowadays, if I got 14 likes on a finished new painting, I would be kind of bummed out.
Yeah,
a little bit.
you'd probably feel a bit sad about that.
So we all kind of start somewhere.
I do.
And they do start from humble beginnings. And I think another thing that you pointed out that's really important is the fact that you don't deserve their time. You do not deserve anyone's time or attention at all. That is all earned.
Yeah.
There are so many things out there to look at. There's so many cool things to look at. And you really, really have to be exceptional and put something interesting out there to get people's attention.
Yeah.
And that is the way it should be. For instance, anyone watching this, I feel blessed that anyone is taking the time out of their day to watch this.
That's why I try and go through all the comments, and because I'm like, oh, this person watched this watched this.
It's amazing.
And took the time to comment as well.
Right. And that's something I think is worth kind of outlining for people, is that fans sort of make a progression, and it seems a little bit capitalistic in the end, but it starts out with somebody who likes looking at your work, and then they will enjoy following your work, and then they will enjoy sharing and talking about your work, and or interacting with you. Interacting with you is going to happen somewhere in here, but sharing and talking about your work with other people, and then financially supporting it. That is sort of the kind of ultimate compliment to an artist, is I am willing to part with my hard-earned money for what you've made so that it can be a permanent part of my life.
Yeah.
And that's pretty cool.
It's a huge compliment.
Yeah, it's I like your stuff that much, and I like it specifically over everyone else's stuff. I mean, you can buy a million different paintings to put on your wall.
Yep.
And you don't have that much wall space or that much money. And so it's a huge thing for somebody to actually be willing to do that. And of course, that's not to say that the other fans are any worse. They're not.
No.
There's no value judgment there.
No.
It's simply that they sort of make this progression as they become more and more invested in your work. The step right below that of talking and sharing about your work is hugely important. You need those people that are willing to do that. Anytime somebody talks about my art or my work or my portfolio or anything online, this show, I'm always excited, because it's like they are a real fan, because they've moved past the point of just enjoying this to the point where they want to share it with somebody else. Because when you start doing that, they take sort of some of the credit and blame for that. They take responsibility for sharing stuff that's only good. You know, if they shared something and all their friends are like, "Wow, that looks terrible. Why would you share that?
Wrong with you?
That's awful." And then your friends are gonna think you're terrible because you did that. So when someone shares your work, they are actually taking on a little bit of responsibility for the fact that they think it's good.
They're taking a risk on you.
They really are. And it's a pretty significant social risk to invest yourself like that. So you've got to make something of real quality. And so when you're talking about your art and your creations and stuff like that, they need to be exceptional, which is kind of daunting.
It is. It's, as you said, there are millions of beautiful things out there.
You're a beautiful thing.
Oh, you're so sweet. I just got cut off mid-thought there.
Yeah.
Oh,
Just turn your brain off.
oh, you do that sometimes. What was I saying?
There's millions of beautiful things, especially you.
Oh, you got to stop this. This video's not going to progress. So, beautiful things, but it's not enough. This is what I was going to say. It's not enough to just be beautiful.
Aww.
Sorry. The wealth of choice there is out there of beautiful things. You know, we're kind of getting a bit desensitized to beautiful things. Like we scroll through Facebook and it's like everyone's travel pictures of all the beautiful places in the world we've been, and we don't stop and look anymore because we've seen it. We've seen beautiful. The thing that draws people in is additional. It's not any one element, but there are different things that you can work on that will make a person stop and go, that's cool. And it's just not enough to be just good at art. You can't then be annoyed that people aren't engaging in your work because you did the time, you got the good artwork, you put it out there and it's not receiving a reception, and there will be a reason for that, and it's either because you haven't really developed a product worth investing your time in, or because you just haven't, like I said, the snowball effect. It just takes time to get that going. You've got to keep putting it out there, and you've got to realise that it's going to take time. You can't do one good painting and then suddenly have the full fan base you need for a prolific career. Right. It will take a certain amount of, dealing with the fact that not enough people are seeing your work. It does take time. But yeah, it's something that if you are finding that you feel you don't have enough fans, which is something that a lot of people can kind of worry about because, they've got bills to pay. And it's blooming scary. And the surest way to get more money is to get more fans. Yes. So if your work is getting more attention, you'll have more people buying merchandise from you, you'll have more art directors seeing your work and contacting you. So yeah, if you're sitting down and you're like, I don't have enough fans, it's a legitimate thing to feel because fans will help you. I think that a lot of people then just get frustrated because they don't know how to get more fans. They're like, I'm already doing what I can. I'm already doing the best work I can. I'm already putting it out there. No one's sharing it. I don't know what to do. Right. There are things you can do. One of the things I do, and I kind of find myself worrying about, why people don't consume my work, is to kind of really take a step back and think about what work I consume. Right. So I find that I really love following people who are A, making beautiful work, B, putting out helpful work, so something that I can regularly gain from following, so tutorials or advice or something like that, articles, or B, work that I find likeable and relatable. So anything I can see myself in, anything that makes me laugh, anything I can get addicted to and invested in, I'll follow that too. Right. So there's these kind of things that you can start doing that is more than just doing cool work, because everyone's doing cool work. So many people are doing cool work, my lord. But it's those things that will set you apart, that will make someone stop and go, actually, I want this in my life. Yeah. There are things that you can do to kind of build a greater engagement in people. And usually it will require a bit of doing that into the void. So a great example of this is articles. And I've recently had someone ask me about, how do I get started writing articles? You want to know? You start by writing articles.
Really?
We had this conversation.
I'm so surprised.
It's very daunting because you want to put the work out there. And I'm like, I could very quickly see, I follow people when they do cool articles, when they can put out advice and interesting points of view. But then I was kind of sitting there and I'm like, well, I'm not that interesting a person. What do I say? Yeah. I can't say anything that isn't just a rehashed version of what someone else has said. But you're like, do it. Yep. Whatever it is you got to say, just do it. You don't get the fans first. You keep doing the thing out into the void. You will write 10 articles that no one will read. That's fine. But then at some point, someone's going to read an article and they're going to be like, that's a good one, and they'll share it. And then before you know it, suddenly people are finding what you're saying interesting, and you kind of generally have no idea what it was that you did that was any different. And sometimes it's just the commitment of keeping at it. And then suddenly it looks like you're a professional because you've got 15 articles already. People are starting to share them. So it does require just taking the leap and doing the thing first. You can't really wait until you've got the perfect thing to say, or, everyone's sitting there waiting to receive your word. Sometimes you've just got to put it out there and earn them that way. Can't put the horse before the cart. No, wait, no, that's what you're supposed to do.
Yes, you should probably do that.
Put the horse before the cart. Don't put the cart before the horse. There we go. That one. There's an order to things.
Yes.
And if you don't have the content out there, you can't expect people to want to engage with it before it exists.
Yeah. Just to backtrack.
Sorry, I started talking for a long time again.
You covered
you need to just poke me.
You covered like 4 points there.
Slow down. Yes.
So going way back to you need to be different.
Yes.
Because a lot of people make good art. There's a lot of good art out there. There's, in fact, these days a lot of great art out there. So to get by just on art quality is really hard to do. There are a few people that do it that are the greatest digital painters ever. Craig Mullins can literally update his website and tell no one, and everyone will see it.
Yeah.
And they will love it because he's that good.
Nice.
He's also that known. He's got a name that holds up. So he can do that. I can't just update my website and plan on everyone seeing all of my new paintings. It's not going to work. So getting by on pure art skill without any personality at all, any like public persona at all, is really hard to do. So you have to do what Seth Godin talks about as the purple cow. Nobody talks about brown cows, because who would talk about a brown cow because it's just brown? But if there's a purple cow, everybody talks about the purple cow. Yeah. Like, whoa, why is that cow purple? So you have to have something that is worth talking about, something different about you, something different about the way you work, something different about your work itself, the message it tells, the way you present it, something about your brand that is easy to communicate to someone else and is shareable, for lack of a better word, something that is easily spread, something that you see it and you're like, wow, I should tell somebody else about that. That's a quality to your work that you can start to instill that will really get you that attention and fan base that people seem to crave so much. And that can be as simple as putting out a little bit of your personality. I think this is something a lot of people fail at, is that they have no personality online. They are just, a plank of wood online. They are just dull as anything. And they produce fine paintings, but they have no person. I have no idea what they're like as a person. And I think it's really sad that people are like, oh, I have to be professional, right? That's what you have to do. I have to be super professional and not say anything bad. So I better just be as business as possible. I'm going to a board meeting every time I go into Twitter. It's no, you can actually instill some of your personality into how you do things.
You can be personable and professional at the same time.
Yes. You don't have to go off on racist rants or something like that. That's probably a bad idea.
That's not professional.
Try to avoid doing that one.
Yeah.
But if you just if you have some esoteric interest in life, if you really like mountain biking, you can talk about mountain biking occasionally. You can talk about, hey, I just went on this thing, and still be an artist. You can straddle the line between being a pure artist and also having a life and interest and personality and attitude, and honestly, that stuff alone can set you apart. Just the fact that you're a more interesting person online, that your persona is more interesting, can differentiate you.
Yeah.
For me, articles helped me a lot, because so many artists out there have a lot of great thoughts about art, but they never put them down into words. So they never bothered to write articles about stuff. And so I took the time and tried to write and wrote a few articles, and people responded to that stuff. I started out very early on doing video recordings and talking and narrating them all and doing little tutorial stuff. And I found I really liked teaching. And that was another thing that sort of set me apart early on, was I was pretty good at explaining the things that I knew. Even though I had just gotten started and was very new professionally to art, I still had enough that I could teach someone else that people found it really helpful. People still watch those videos. God, they're like 10 years old now. They're still online. So you can find these things that you are capable of doing, whether it's just being yourself or producing something that other people aren't producing, outside of just sitting there with a brush, that I think can kind of set you apart. You're sort of doing that now, actually, because now you're not just doing your paintings. You're writing both articles and fiction now.
I am, yeah. And also doing these videos.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been...
Now you're a YouTube star, right?
Now I'm famous and I can retire.
All right.
It's great.
Something I get to retire to.
Especially since it's on your channel and it's got nothing to do with me.
Yes, famous.
Fame! Woo!
Yeah, so much fame.
Yeah, no, it's not quite like that.
No? Oh.
I've been doing a lot of writing lately. Which was kind of something I was a bit frightened of doing, because art was something I always kind of felt I was good at to some degree. Writing, I never really knew. I did writing in school and I got good grades, but then I got a good grade at maths, and we know how that went. So, I wasn't really sure. I knew I loved creating stories. I knew that when I was painting, generally just painting a subject with no story didn't really speak to me. I loved thinking about stories behind things. And actually, in a sense, I'm probably a little bit more a storyteller than an artist. And I'm starting to realise this, that art is more my vessel for storytelling. It's not my primary reason for doing things. So I've had a story idea in my head since I was about 18, I think, that has been... It's completely unrecognisable at this point, but it has grown and evolved and morphed and transformed, and I was always kind of just struggling to get on with it because I didn't know what format it should take, or if it was any good, or if I'd be able to sell it if I did it. And then I kind of just started, and I'm not sharing it with anyone except you at the moment, because you're special.
It's good.
Oh, thanks. And even that, I'm kind of hesitant about sharing it because I'm still changing it.
It's a rough draft.
That was rough. It was very rough. But it's raw. Yeah. But I'm having so much fun doing it, and it's injecting a whole new level of life into my work. Suddenly, there's a depth to it that there wasn't before. If ever I find myself slumped with lack of inspiration, suddenly waiting for the muse to strike isn't something I have to do anymore, because usually there's something in my story that will excite me enough to want to start doodling it. And it's given me a whole new direction. It's given me characters that people can start finding interesting. So lately I did a painting of Ava, my protagonist, little blonde chick. I love her to bits. She's way too cute. Am I allowed to say that's really arrogant? I think she's cute. And I did her in this kind of, it was just a really basic, it doesn't even have a background, it's just a front-on profile of her. She's got a slightly wonky, I've been told, DreamWorks expression. Shoot me, guys, whatever. And people loved it because it was kind of likeable. There was something a bit quirky about her. It was not my most technically advanced piece. I did not spend the most time on it. But people liked it because it was a person that they wanted to know more about. They found it kind of cool. They wanted to hear her story and they wanted to see what her friends were like. So now I'm working on the next main character and I'm sort of writing her into the story. And it's this kind of growing thing that I love with all my heart. I love my characters so much and I really am passionate about them. And that is what draws fans in.
Yes.
If I just drew a blonde character that I didn't really care about, no one would have asked questions. If I'd drawn places from my story without really thinking about what they were first. So I just wanted to paint something cool. People wouldn't care.
Yeah.
It is that extra extension of my genuine interest and love of the story I'm writing and wanting to depict that and portray the things that excite me. It's contagious. People can tell when something really enthralls the artist. And it gives people something to follow. So it's not just a disjointed thing. Like, it's not just a blonde girl. It's Ava, and she's got a story, and you can follow it here. It gives people a natural paper trail to follow. It gives them something to sink their teeth into. So that's how I've kind of been branching out and finding my way of drawing fans in with my work. It was kind of not enough for me to just paint stuff, to just create a thing. Yeah, I think you touched on something really important there of making it infectious, of making something that people want to be around, they want to be exposed to all the time. And you can even kind of more generalize this, and you can think about people that you like being around in your life. You can think about the sort of person that you'd like to hang out with, the sort of person you'd like to spend time with. And you think about what sort of person that is, and they're probably someone doing very interesting things that can have interesting conversations and have interesting thoughts and ideas and communicate them well, and are probably generally a pretty positive person. And you think about those things, and that's probably a person all of us would like to spend time with. I mean, someone who lifts you up.
Right, exactly. Somebody who's adding something to both the people around them as well as the world in a more general sense. And that's a pretty powerful thing. And that exact same principle works online with just the more shallow interaction of getting fans. Because you want something that people are just going to be drawn to. And if you are just absolutely passionate about your idea, you just cannot wait to get up in the morning and create this stuff, you're super excited about your story, like, I mean, you barely sleep sometimes because you can't wait to get up and write again. It makes me feel super lazy.
We wanted to do a video yesterday, but honestly, we came to the evening and I was so in my fantasy world that I couldn't really string a sentence together. It's just like, no, wait, hang on, I'm thinking about my characters. I can't do it.
You're in a whole other world. And that's the quality you want to have, because people are just going to be drawn to it. Same goes for the positivity. Oh man, I'd like to write my story, but I'd like to paint, but, and you just come up with like negative excuses every day. Like, you're going to bring people down.
It's
you're just gonna
bummer.
You're just going to be a bummer.
Yeah.
Like that friend in the social circles is always
It's always a reason or a bad spin on things, and it's a drain.
I'm not saying that like bad things don't happen in life, and I'm not saying you can't talk about bad things in life.
And that you have to be positive all the time.
No, you don't. Like, bad things can happen. You can be down occasionally.
All have bad days.
But like being an overall just negative drain will severely affect like even the, again, shallow thing of just having a fan base. Like, you're going to have a hard time developing a fan base if you were just a bummer. If people just like scroll through Twitter and like, God, I feel depressed now.
What is this?
Like, wow, they're just,
that was a miserable experience.
they're not making anything and just complaining about it. It's like, God, So I think even just being positive and being excited and passionate about this stuff, and you don't, again, it doesn't have to be 100% thing, but if in general you're that sort of person, you have that sort of outlook, people are going to have no choice but to like be excited and follow you.
I mean, I've seen in some kind of extreme cases, I've seen people kind of complain about their existing fans. It can kind of come in many forms. It can kind of be that I don't have enough fans. My fans don't spend enough money on me. My fans don't comment on things in the right way. You know, my comment, they're not saying the right things I want to hear. My fans should appreciate my work more. And I just think that's a terrible way to treat these people who are kind of going out of their way to, you know, like we said earlier, that is not your entitlement. That is something that someone has done as a favour to you. And to kind of ask for people to appreciate your work more, it's like, I was kind of thinking about this the other day. I was like, this needs a good analogy. I was talking to my friend and we came up with this analogy of like walking down the street and someone is flogging a good cause. And you walk by, whatever. if that person starts yelling at you how dare you walk past this was a good cause, you're a terrible person, that person's not going to come back and go, I agree, that was a really good cause, here's my money. They're going to run. And they're going to be like, that was an awful, like, what just happened? These people who are stopping and looking at your work are doing a good thing. They're consuming your work and they're supporting you.
Yes.
Browbeating them for not, supporting you more. That's terrible.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
That is not the way to convince somebody to be more of a fan.
No, it's a good way to make your existing fans feel really terrible and awkward about commenting on things in case they don't comment on it right.
Yeah, you can't negotiate people's interest in you and your work. Like that is something you have to earn. You can't just. You should be a bigger fan of my work. You should buy more of my stuff. So do that.
I have bills to pay.
Yeah.
Don't you understand?
I'm going to be selfish and talk about myself, and then you're going to give me money because I deserve it. No, you don't deserve anything.
Yeah.
Like you earn that attention. You earn those shares. You earn that money.
They are people just like you.
Yeah, they really are. Except for the bots.
Except for those. They're not people, guys.
People.
Important distinction.
They're not people.
Not the bots.
They're not actually
They don't
fans.
share anything.
They really don't like your work.
No. But yeah, if you really are struggling, feeling like people don't appreciate your work enough, that, you're pulling out all the stops and it's just not working, it's worth reevaluating your approach. Because if people aren't interested, I've said it before, either A, not been doing it long enough, or B, you're doing something wrong. Or not. It can be that you're not doing something wrong, you're just not doing enough. That, as you said, you're tunnel visioning in one type of thing. I'm really focusing on getting really good at art, but there's nothing else to latch onto. So it could be worth sitting down and thinking about, what kind of work can I be doing that will interest people? What will people want to consume? What do I see in other people's work that really gets me excited? And how can I put that into my own work? How can I make people really want to stay around?
Yeah, people also make this mistake. Another really big one I see all the time is people don't show their work to the right people.
Oh, yeah.
This is a big one. The art community especially gets really, really incestuous. And I'm assuming all other creative fields are just like that. Like they get really, really incestuous with showing more art to more artists and just going around in circles constantly. And not realizing that you need to get fans out of the art circles. You need to break out of that to actual fans.
Other artists are not your target audience.
No.
Colleagues should not be your target audience.
Yeah, if your entire fan base is other artists, you're not doing it right. If all the art community is doing is just sharing money between us, there's no money coming in.
No, it's never going to grow.
That is a closed system. It does not work. No. That is not how money works. You need to find fans outside of that world, and that's how you really grow a fan base. So for me, like Reddit was huge for me, both for the sort of more fantasy fans as well as obviously the Magic community. Magic community was huge for me.
Yeah.
Because it was super easy. All I did was talk to them, be like a normal person, because no other artists were really engaging with that community.
Yep.
They were a bunch of fan players, but they didn't have any interaction with the art side of it. They knew the art, they liked the art, they even liked some of the artists, but there was never any back and forth there. They never had a chance to actually talk with an artist.
Yeah.
So I just hopped on there, showed some of my art, and would respond to people. And that's it. That's my brilliant that was my brilliant marketing strategy. And it worked out great. Yeah. And it was fantastic for both sides of that exchange.
Yeah.
They get to see a whole new side of the whole art magic thing that they love, and I get to enjoy the fact that I have thousands more fans because of that.
Yeah. You recently managed to get me into Reddit.
Yes.
I've been scared of Reddit for a long time because...
For good reason.
I mean, it's a frightening place.
It is terrifying.
There be trolls.
Yes.
When I was like I think 18, I had a go at it and got ripped apart. And I was not emotionally mature enough to deal with that. I was like devastated. Yeah. I argued with people.
Not a good idea.
Don't engage.
Do not engage ever.
And I really took it hard, and I just deleted my account and never bothered with it again. Yeah. So it was quite daunting getting back. So I have just over 1,000 followers on Twitter. I have maybe like 10 on ArtStation. I'm not that well known in the art community. I went onto Reddit and we posted, between the two of us, we posted a couple of pieces of my art, and the reception was phenomenal. I was completely floored. I couldn't believe it. I thought that someone like me who's only got like 1,000 followers, it's never, no one's going to care. But my lord, people were just wonderful. Everyone was lovely. Well, we'll get onto that. Not everyone. We'll get onto that. But the overwhelming majority were just wonderful. Everyone wanted to know more about me, more about my art. They wanted to know about the world I was creating. I had tens of thousands in the end, like upvotes. And I had people asking me, I've had more requests for commissions than I've ever had in my whole life combined before Reddit. This is 2 weeks ago. Yeah. I've had so many requests for commissions. I've had art directors and like stuff contact me through it. I've had fans asking where they can buy my prints. And when I told them that, I can't actually set up a print store legally yet, I had them saying, well, please, can you contact me when it goes live? And I'm like, it won't be until the back end of the year. And they're like, that's fine, let me know. These people were not only willing to throw money at me now, but they were willing to wait to throw money at me. These were people who were that engaged in what I was doing. And that's a fan. That's a real fan. Someone who is really into what you're doing. And that has been wonderful for me. I've got so many new fans who want to know about my world and know about me, and it feels great. It feels great to have broken out of just one kind of echo chamber and start branching out, and it's wonderful. And
people are craving this sort of stuff. As much as people like to think that like the world is oversaturated with content and there's too much to look at and there's no room for another person, they really are craving good stuff that they can connect with. Whatever that happens to be, they want that. Like online communities are 99% people that will only read it, that will never even comment, will just read. And then, of that 1%, probably 99% of them will only just comment on things. And then that little 1% of 1% are people that are actually contributing something original to that community. So it's a very small percentage. So you are exceptional just for the fact that you're going on there and contributing something original. And it's super powerful. I've got a friend, Miles Johnson, who posts on the Reddit all the time, his both drawings and paintings, and has had
He's so good.
Huge success. Huge.
That's wonderful.
And he was relatively unknown for a long time and posted on Reddit regularly and just gets massive reception. And it's just incredible to see. And he could just keep sharing that to artists, and a lot of artists would be like, wow, that's really good, man. Or he could post it on there and get hundreds of thousands of people looking at it.
It's amazing.
I think it's a really powerful thing. I don't think there's ever been an easier time to have this sort of access to just massive swarms of people.
You just have to put it in the right place. That's the thing is we have a tendency to look in the wrong places for it. We're thinking like artists, and we should be thinking like fans. If I was a fantasy fan who wanted to read fantasy and get hooked on a fantasy world, I wouldn't go to ArtStation.
No.
I would go to Reddit, or I'd start looking at fantasy forums. I would start looking at Goodreads and reviews sites, and I wouldn't go to Twitter or ArtStation or DeviantArt because they're just saturated with artists. People don't know that they're looking for artists. They're looking for a thing, a product. As a fan, you're not going to go to the people. It's like going to LinkedIn if you're trying to buy, looking for a clothing designer on LinkedIn when you want to buy a new dress. It's just way up there that most people don't really think that far up the hierarchy. And people are going to want to be finding a good hub for them to look for these interests.
Yeah, I think you mentioned something good, that they're not looking for artists because they're not. They're looking for what you're making.
Yeah.
And so many artists forget that because they're so focused on making the art and they get really wrapped up in the art and making it better. And that's great, but that's not how to get a fan or a customer at all. They don't care about the art that much. That's the weird thing about fans is most fans don't actually care about your art.
No.
They care about what you're making.
Yep.
And that's a great thing.
Yeah.
It's a bit of an annoying thing occasionally because you're like, wow, I worked so hard on this. And they're like, yeah, it's kind of boring. But it's a great thing because they really, really want to care about what you're making if what you're making is very cool. And that's it. They don't know that they're looking for something cool. Nobody just hops on the internet. You know what I'm going to find?
Cool.
I'm just going to find something cool that somebody is making.
Yeah.
Like, nobody does that. But if they stumble across something that you're making and is super awesome, they'll be like, whoa, I gotta see some more of this stuff. And when they buy art, they're not looking for art for the most part. It's very rare that somebody actually wants to put art on their walls. They want to put something cool that is art.
Yeah, exactly. They wanted a cool product, and the fact that that's an art thing is like, yeah, okay, well, yeah, it's fine, it looks cool.
Yeah, whatever, it's cool.
Whatever it is,
Yeah.
you know. They might have bought a 3D
first.
model, they might have bought a book, they might have, the fact it's a piece of art is like, yeah, okay, well, that's fine. That's not their priority.
Yeah.
It's also kind of, as you were saying there about, they don't really care how good things are sometimes. It's very true. This is why I think as artists we can be a bit bitter when we see someone who is not as good as us. And we know that objectively. We're like, right, that person's not as skilled as me. Yeah. They're getting more attention. And that can feel like it can feel unfair. But it's not. It's because that person has done something different. It will be because it could be as something as simple as they're doing it in a fashionable style, which is like, okay, well, that's fine. They're producing essentially a product. It's like buying into a line of things. They're like, but I mean, that tends to be kind of rare. But that can be a thing there's just like a cool design that they like. It could be that, you know, they have a really likable character and they're not very good at drawing the likable character, but it's got charisma. And so people love it and they'll aggressively follow it, even if it's not that technically advanced. The skill side of things is really good when you are working for clients and you are, you know, trying to establish a presence. Being as good as you can be helps, but it doesn't necessarily guarantee you sales of things. Doesn't guarantee you fans. There's a whole other side of kind of marketability and making a product. The two are not connected. I mean, they're connected, but not joined to the hip. Just because you're a good artist doesn't mean you're a good businessman.
No.
In fact, quite often a long way away from that.
I would say most are pretty bad.
There's something else I want to talk about as well, which is dealing with people who genuinely don't like your work. So there's, you know, we're talking
going to be
about
here a while.
Yeah, we're talking about fans and people who do like your work and how to get that. There is a flip side of things where people full-blown attack your work or tell you that you're a useless human being and that, you know, go and crawl off the internet and die.
Oh, yes.
That happens.
Yes.
And for all of the wonderful experience I had on Reddit, I had so many people tell me they hated me. I had people they went onto my social media profiles, found pictures of me and linked them from underneath my artwork. I've had people accuse me of ripping off DreamWorks, The Witcher, Game of Thrones. I've had people saying I was copying Scarlett Johansson. I had people saying I was copying plenty of people I've never even heard of. Dodger, who's like a gaming personality. Most of these people I had to look up. I was kind of going through it going, okay, fine. Plenty of people just kind of extended that as that's cool, that looks like so-and-so, which is fine. But there was a lot of people who were actively like, saying about my character, saying things like, what's wrong with her? She's got a lazy eye. Her boobs weren't big enough, her boobs were too big. You only got onto the front page because you have a famous husband. You only got onto the front page because you painted a girl with boobs. I had all sorts of vitriol, and I noticed a clear correlation with the more popular it got, the more vitriol it received.
Yeah.
So when it was unheard of, when it was just like 10 upvotes, it was 100% upvoted. I was receiving lovely comments. It got to 100 and that was still pretty true. It got to 1,000 and the first kind of this is crap came in. And then as it got more and more popular, as much as there was probably about 95% positive comments, the more attention it received, the more people felt the need to crawl out of the woodwork and tell me what an awful human being I was, how I was destined to fail for the rest of my life, unoriginal, talentless, terrible, riding your coattails, go and jump in a fire.
Yep.
And it was quite the spectacular decline from, you know, having all these wonderful people telling me how good I was doing to suddenly get off the internet. And I'm like, whoa, okay.
Yeah.
I think that is just a fact of life, sadly.
It unfortunately is. Just the more popular something gets or someone gets, the more they're going to deal with that stuff. And for the most part, I just try to avoid it.
Yep.
I have looked and seen many different solutions for what to do with it. And I can honestly say that the best solution I have found in all my experience, which I have had more than enough, is just to ignore it as much as possible. I know there are hundreds of 4chan threads about me that are nothing but saying awful things about me. I somewhat regularly get messages saying that I should kill myself.
Wow.
Actually, yeah, I get occasional death threats.
That's awful.
Yeah, this is. Yeah, I've talked to some of my friends, and they say that you know you're popular when you get your first death threats.
Oh, God.
That's the line.
Stop
right
sending
there.
my husband death threats, people.
Now I'm gonna get like 3.
And I'm gonna get one too.
Yeah, that's how that's gonna work. So honestly, the best solution I have, the healthiest solution I have, is just to ignore it, just to move on with your life and realize, yes, consciously, most people actually like your work.
Yeah.
If you're getting response to your work, most people actually like it.
It's the vocal minority.
Yes, which it really, really sucks. And I know it does because I have dealt with it. But you just move on with it.
Yeah.
And
one of my great weaknesses is that I'm a people pleaser. One of my biggest priorities in life is to be liked by as many people as I possibly can. It's kind of a lame thing, but you get what you get. And I really take it to heart, trying to be as likeable a person as I can, trying to be nice to people, trying not to offend anyone. The fact I was brought up a perfect little British girl doesn't help me very much because I'm just like impeccable manners and don't want to offend anybody. And so it could be really tough when I started receiving all this hate mail. The temptation was obviously to take that really to heart, and it's hard not to, because then you start looking at your piece of art and I'm like, maybe there is something wrong with her lips, and does she have a lazy eye, and should I go and jump in the trash pile? I don't know. But also just kind of appreciating that that's just a kind of statistics thing, that as something grows, humans are too variable. You cannot please everyone. There are people out there who hate Mother Teresa, for Christ's sake. Like, what is there to hate? But there will be a long line of people who have something passionately against her. You cannot please everyone. And so when you start receiving stuff like that, where people seem to take it upon themselves to start ripping you apart or giving their 2 cents, which just really wasn't invited, the best thing you can do, as you say, is either ignore it, or what worked quite well with me, because I'm trying to engage as many people as I can and not come across aloof or anything like that, because I'm obsessed with likability and oh my god, please don't hate me. I still try to engage with as many people as I can, and people are putting spiteful things. I found the best way was to, for me at least, was to kind of be nice to them. And the amount of people who retracted what they said after I was just kind of nice. So people told me, I'd done a terrible job on the anatomy or something, and I sent a message saying, oh, okay, can you let me know where you think that was? I might have missed it. And they kind of go, oh, well, it's only minor. It was just this bit here. Maybe you could, work on that. But it was really good overall. Just don't take, just a little thing. And you find that people feel safe in numbers. They see other people trashing things down, and that other people have said things, and they get to get behind their keyboard and they get to bash out a little bit of abuse and then feel good about themselves. They forget that that's going to a real person like them, and sometimes just being human and engaging it and saying, oh, okay, well, why'd you say that? Makes them go, well, sorry, I didn't really mean it. It's okay.
Yeah.
Usually when people are posting horrible negative feedback, it's not aimed at you. It's
Right.
aimed at a theory of
Right.
popularity and something. So I received a lot of negative comments about my character's expression, which on the whole was very loved. She had this kind of quirky, half kind of smile, raised eyebrow type thing. And I had so many people saying, oh my God, I love her expression. It's wonderful. You totally nailed it. It's so charismatic. I also had a lot of people saying, you total phony, you absolute rip-off, that's DreamWorks. DreamWorks, it didn't work for DreamWorks. Why do you think it works for you? And so there's two things to be taken from that. Firstly, when I kind of spoke to these people about why they said it looked like DreamWorks, they very quickly said, actually, it's not that bad, don't worry about it. The other thing is you can't please everyone.
No.
If someone's, oh my God, she's perfect and absolutely adorable and I want her as my friend, if someone else is, oh God, she's disgusting and fake and I can't stand it, burn it. That is just, you can't control it. You can't make something right. You can only make something you. There is no right answer for how you create things.
Yeah.
You just got to do what feels right to you. And the truth is, even having heard all these like remarks about how DreamWorks my character's face was, I wouldn't change it.
No.
I don't want to change it. That's her face. If you guys don't like it, don't look at it. Like, I think she's cute and I think she's exactly what I was trying to do.
Yeah.
And that's fine. What you should be focusing on, rather than pleasing everyone, is pleasing the ones who do care.
Right.
Your actual fans. There was a... Sorry, do you want to add anything before I go off on that
I
tangent?
mean, I could talk sometimes.
Sorry. I'm getting quite passionate about this one, guys.
Yeah. I think the very nature of having fans means you'll have people that don't like your work. The nature of attracting someone and making a fan means that you will also push people away. I don't think you can have fans without pushing people away, and I think that's a great thing. I think if you are just vanilla and bland and gray and middle of the road, you're probably not going to get many fans. If you are distinct in any way in what you're making, if you are basically have an opinion with your art in any direction, then you're going to alienate some people and you're going to make some people hate it. And that's fine. And if you have any personality as a human being, you're going to alienate some people and you're going to make some people just dislike everything about you. Yep. And that is also fine. I think it just comes with the territory. Yep. And it's important to remember, especially in the hard times when you're getting the terrible messages and critiques and all that other stuff, that you do have those fans, and that's why you're doing it.
They're the reason you're in it. Yeah. And, you know, that is the most important thing, that you stay true to those fans who do like your stuff and do hear your message and have heard your unique, strong opinion on whatever. It doesn't have to be an actual physical opinion. It could be your work, whatever the statement your work is making. And they haven't run from it. And they're the people you want to keep kind of on your side. Yeah. You want to keep making stuff for them. There was an audiobook I listened to recently, which I cannot remember the name of, but it's that short little one.
Anything You Want.
Anything You Want.
By Derek Sivers. It's
a really good book. Really short and really manageable, but just full of good advice. And one of the things that stood out to me was how, he had this company, and it was wildly successful, way more successful than he wanted it to be, actually. And everyone was kind of obsessed with scaling it up and making it more marketable and stuff. And he had these big kind of companies coming in and trying to sell things and take part of the company. And he was declining business opportunities. And people thought he was absolutely mad. They were like, well, this is what everyone wants. Everyone wants more money and bigger company and stuff. Why don't you? And he's, they're going, you could triple your fans if you had something like this. And he's like, I don't want to. I want my small fan base to be very, very happy. If they are here for this reason, if I start selling out and whatnot, then they're not going to be happy. I'm sacrificing the thing that makes me me.
Yeah.
And that was quite a powerful message that, it's fine if you tread on people's toes and upset people and stuff. You just, as long as you are, making the people that you really care about happy, the people that do enjoy your work and receive it in the way you hoped it would be received, they're the ones that you should be paying attention to. If you've got like a fantasy series that you're really enjoying making and it's got 500 followers who are like avid fans of it, and you see an opportunity to take on a different project that's going to gain you 5,000 fans, that's fine. You might make more money that way, but there's 500 people that, they're there for you. They're your fans. They like what you do. They are kind of what makes it worthwhile, I think. It's not always necessarily about just growing the numbers. It's about making those people that are into what you do there for the kind of, there's value in that.
Yeah.
I think I actually wrote down a list because I knew that we'd kind of
did you?
chatter on this. I'm going to make sure. It might be all. Might have covered everything.
Is that everything?
Or maybe one more thing. How do we cope without them? So we've kind of talked about fans and enemies and earning fans and what makes a fan. How would you suggest coping through the time where you just feel that your work isn't being heard? How do you get through those periods where no one is seeing your work?
I think it's the perfect opportunity to start developing a habit that I think everyone with a fan base should still have. Speaking as someone who developed one and realizing I needed to do this earlier on, and that is putting the value of work on yourself, putting the sense of fulfillment in yourself rather than external sources. We talked about this before, but the more I'm focused on making art for myself, making the things I like to do, and not really caring that much if anyone else does, the better the work tends to be. The more powerful it is, the more personal it is, and the more enjoyment I get out of it. If I'm focused on other people when I make something, I tend to make worse things. If I'm focused on myself and what I want to do and what I want to get out of it, I'm going to make way better paintings.
Yeah.
And I think it's a hard thing to do because I know what it's like to make a good painting and share it to almost no one.
Yeah.
I know exactly what that's like, and it's not super fun. Part of the nature of making stuff is that most people who make stuff like to show it off. If you don't like showing it off, you're a bit of an anomaly in that. Most people like to be proud of what they've done and want to show it off, want to share it. We start with this as kids when we show our mom a little crayon drawing. We want to show off what we've made. We're proud of it. We take something to school and we're like, hey, I made this. Like, that's cool. We get up in front of classes in art and show like, hey, I made this drawing and I'm proud of it. And I think that's a great quality to it. So I think it's almost intrinsic to art that sharing is part of it, which is why I don't think there's anything cheap or disingenuous about talking about building a fan base with art, because I think that's something people would probably bring up of like, oh, you should just do art for art's sake.
Stop setting out, man.
Yeah, anyone who cares about fans is just not a real artist.
Starving artists.
It's like, no, I think it is absolutely part of art and part of making that you want to share it with other people.
For sure.
And that's fine. You're supposed to take pride in it. But yeah, as much as you can, tying your happiness to internal things of making it just part of your own satisfaction with making the art.
Worked pretty well with me too. I probably had, or I don't know if I've had more of a struggle with it than you, or just that my struggle is more recent than yours. But I obviously am struggling with the fact that, I'm writing a story that I am deeply passionate about. And if I finish writing it tomorrow, I might sell 10 copies of it. I haven't got a big enough fan base yet to retire on my book royalties. So there's that feeling of, I don't have enough fans for this. I have just had to get on with it. I hope that by the time I have finished my story, I will have shared enough with people that they will also be on board and as excited about it as I am. but I can't let that stop me or define whether or not I do it. It's like we were saying earlier, you have to do the work first and the fans will come afterwards. You can't gather the fans and then make the work. I am absolutely in love with my project. No one really knows very much about it apart from you. But that doesn't stop me from getting up every day and writing things that no one's going to see and playing around with design ideas that no one's going to see. The only way I have been able to get through that is just by being so in love with my project that I don't care. I am not very good. So whenever I do studies, I feel the need to share them online because I'm not very good at keeping my art to myself. So anything from a scribble to a study to, it all gets shared. But I can't do that with my story because, I'm going to want to make a big book out of it one day. I can't share everything. And that was kind of tough for me at first because I had no one to tell me it was good, which is what I lived for. The only thing that has got me through that was just being so in love with my project that I didn't care that, it doesn't matter to me that it keeps me awake at night, gets me out of bed in the morning, and I'm obsessed with it. And that for me is exactly what is pulling me through the kind of period of having too few fans to make it a viable income source for me, is just being so enthused with it, I don't care. And then the fans can come later. When I have a novel and an art book to go with it, and people stop and go, oh my, how on earth did you do that? That's amazing, that's so much work. Then that's when I get to celebrate and have my fans.
Sure.
But until then, I just got to keep working quietly, and I will. I love it.
Yeah.
I'll keep going at it.
I think that is the answer.
Just love your work that much.
Yeah.
It's not like every minute I celebrate while I'm working.
Yeah.
There are times where I will be writing and I'm like, oh no, I suck. I can barely speak English. What am I doing? And there'll be times where I delete a painting I was working on for it, or I rewrite a whole section of it. And it's not always dandy, but overall I am possessed enough of the idea that I just want to keep coming back to it, and it doesn't rely on other people's validation of it. Yeah. So I think we just have to find that thing that keeps us obsessed with it, and that kind of, I think, drags you through.
Yeah. I think that was good.
I think so.
I think that's about all I have to say about fans.
Yeah, that's about all I've got
fans
to say
are good.
too. Thank you, fans. You guys make my world go round.
Thanks,
despite
fans.
everything I just said. Honestly, it's a wonderful thing having people who engage with what you're doing.
It is absolutely incredible that anyone looks at the stuff I make. It just makes me happy every time. I'm like, yay, somebody liked it.
As much as we tell ourselves we can't let that dictate our journey, and we can't base our complete self-worth on our fans, you guys make it awesome. It's just, it makes being an artist what it is. It makes creating what it is.
True.
So, shout out to you guys. Love you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, that's all. Alrighty.
See you next time.
Bye.